Hey there, my name's Kiri and I'm a flower farmer here in Western Washington in Zone 8A, and it is the end of November and I'm coming to you between rain showers and hailstorms today to let you know about what I'm planting up. So this is the last 100 or so of my perennial bulbs that I have to plant this season. One thing that I love about the fall here in Western Washington is that it's pretty mild. You know, we get some rain. This year, actually, November, we have had less than 2 inches of rain, and typically we have about 3.5 inches, and last November we had 7 inches. So it's been exceptionally mild this fall, which has been great because I get to take my time planting up all my bulbs. So I've already planted up all 1,900 of my tulip bulbs, and I also planted up hundreds of ranunculus and anemones. I'll show you a little bit of an update on how the anemone and ranunculus are doing. This was my second succession of ranunculus planted in November, so not any growth. And I've got some more over there. They're under frost cloth. I gotta cover this one up, but no growth here. And then this was the first succession that was in October. Let me show you that. So all my ranunculus and anemones are under frost cloth, and here's what the anemones look like. Starting to get some nice green growth on those. Here's the ranunculus that was planted 6 weeks ago, and they have put on quite a bit of nice green growth, and I'm very excited to see what these look like when they bloom. Ooh. And then over the last 3 or so weeks, I've been planting up about 450 daffodil bulbs. I've got some planted up here around my different shrubs that I have planted out, kind of in drifts. So that'll be a really nice display in spring, and it'll be easy to keep track of what varieties I have in there. Down here I have a lot of the mixed Zeta Essentials ones down here, so I try to kind of group the rest of them just in case I have somebody order, you know, a certain type. I can know exactly, okay, yeah, a certain type is right there, and I know how many I have. Kind of running out of space to naturalize these perennial bulbs, so I've had to get a little bit creative. So yeah, these ones are naturalizing here along the woodland edge. I'm also going to plant this camacea, not exactly sure how to pronounce it, so I've got blue ones and white ones here. These are actually native to the Pacific Northwest, so they'll do really well in clay soil and in our kind of soggy situations that we have in winter. And these get really tall, and they bloom in between daffodils and peonies, so that probably, fingers crossed, will match up with some of my late blooming tulips, which are those kind of fancier ones. So that'll be really great because this will be that spike element that I need to add in to be able to create mixed bouquets. And then I got these shrubs up here, you know, that hopefully eventually will grow up and give me some nice greenery to add in as well. So these are gonna go between the daffodils and the bushes as well and naturalize along here because, I mean, clearly this is a woodland edge, so I think that'll be really nice. And I'm debating about putting some of these in the wildflower patch, but I think I'm going to reserve that for the lupin, rudbeckia, and bachelor's buttons that are doing really well over there. I did end up transplanting the Orangium from the circle garden into the wildflower patch because it was just taking up way too much space in the circle garden. And you're not supposed to transplant that, but there's a couple reasons why I did. First, I don't care for it that much because I'm not going to be doing dried flowers moving forward, and I didn't use it a lot in bouquets, so if it dies, meh. And I started it from seed, so it wasn't a big investment. But if it takes over in the perennial wildflower patch, that would be awesome. Speaking of the circle garden, I planted out about 75 of the Sensation Allium all throughout the center of this, and then I also got in 75 of the Obdum daffodils in here. So I think this will be a really nice purple pop during late spring and early summer. I also got some daffodils planted up on the side garden over here between my roses, and I also planted up, it's called Fritillaria persisca, which is a tall, spiky, dark purple perennial bulb that should perennialize here in my zone. I'm just going to watch the moisture levels because those can rot pretty easily. So hopefully those will perennialize for me. The last thing I have a little bit left over of is this Luco Gem, which is also known as snowflake. I think I'm going to kind of plant that throughout here as well to let it naturalize. These are really great though because they get like 20 inches tall. So you could still use these in arrangements if you really wanted to. And they bloom in May is what it says. So we're going to sprinkle those everywhere. So this is my shade garden. The raised beds are right behind me, and then the flower field is back there. So I'm filling in with the Luco Gem through here. So although, I invested a little bit under $600 in all 800 or so of these bulbs, hopefully most of them will perennialize for me, which does a couple different things. So first of all, I don't have to keep buying bulbs because, tulip bulbs are expensive, and these bulbs are around the same price. Some of them are a little bit more, some are a little bit less, but then, it's one-time planting, one-time investment, and then you keep getting those flowers every year. That's a really big benefit. I'm all about trying to reduce the amount of work smarter, not harder, and that investing in perennials is a great way to do that. The other thing too is that this is in line with kind of my brand vision that I have for myself. Because I do live in such a mild climate, I am able to produce mixed bouquets very early in the season. So I know a lot of other flower farmers who live in cooler zones don't tend to have a lot of supporting flowers available when their tulips are blooming, but that's not really the case for me. So I have a lot of plants that do put out greenery that matches up with the bloom time of some of those late tulips. Hopefully my ranunculus will go beyond the tulip period, and that'll match up really well with some of those, maybe some of these that bloom between the peonies and the tulip, or the daffodils, I guess. So hopefully, I can stretch out that ranunculus to go through the whole tulip season and beyond to match up with some of these perennial bulbs. And the Luco Gem also should probably bloom about the same time as this. So imagine that all together. We got some spikes, we got some kind of airy accents, and then we do have beautiful focals. And I have all kinds of native greenery like Solomon's seal and slaw that grows up here in the woods. And I have made a lot of investments in perennials to cut on for next year. In the circle garden, I've got that Artemisia, Palace Castle, which is a greenery that's evergreen. And then some of these shrubs that I've got up here now, evergreen huckleberry. The willow should probably leaf up at that time, so it could work out really well. And on top of it, things that I didn't have last year that I will have this coming year is fall sown cool annuals. So hopefully those will also bloom very early in the season and give me that extra oomph that I need, that I really lacked between my tulips and my peonies last year. And then I've got like spurge and things like this. This is still a little baby plants, but they'll toughen up and they'll get bigger. So it's looking very promising for next spring, and that's when I make the most sales. So I'm really looking forward to having more variety so that people will have more options, and it'll just be a really good spring. So I'm going to plant these up along the edge of the woodlands here, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.